So I just wanted to check in with you real quick and talk to you about, or really rant about some things that have been on my mind. For those of you who follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you may have seen one of my recent posts about an idea if everything that we thought or everything that we said showed up on our skin. And the idea or the question asked was would we still be beautiful, or would you still be beautiful? And it just, for me, it was just a real raw idea of accountability, which got me thinking more about authentic communication, which got me thinking about this show that Robin and I just finished up with called 13 Reasons. And I know there's a lot of buzz out there about it. And in our community, there is quite a bit of buzz about the topic as young men and women are making the decision to take their life because they don't want to, well, I can't say why. But what I can say is that it got me moving down this idea of authentic communication and really looking at the problem of our community in regards to why we would have such an epidemic like this. And I just want to say, first and foremost, for those of you that think that this show glamorized suicide, I think you're sadly mistaken. I think you're a coward for even saying something like that. And yes, some of the content may have been graphic for sure, but it's one of these conversations that we need to have, and there's a reason why in which the show was made was because it's an epidemic in this country. It's an epidemic in our schools, and I applaud the individuals that made the decision to produce this and put it out, because I think they did a great job with it. Now, in regards to authentic communication, folks, it begins and ends with us. It begins and ends with you. It begins and ends with me. And so if we can learn to communicate authentically with ourselves, then we can accept who we are. And we can also then communicate authentically with the people around us, with the ones that love us, or even with the ones that don't love us. The whole purpose of this is to bring clarity to who you are, that you were created to be you, and nobody else can take your place. And so for those of you that are out there that are considering this as an option, I challenge you to communicate authentically. Communicate authentically with the people that love you. Communicate authentically with your pastors, if you have them, counselors, teachers, friends, about who you are. Because without you, there's no me. Without you, there's no them. And that we all need each other. But we don't need this fake facade that we put on to try and get people to like us, or try and feel love from how many friends that we have, or how many people are paying attention to our social media accounts. Because at the end of the day, none of that crap really matters. What matters is that you have the ability to be who you are. And if you focus on you and you focus on communicating authentically, you become really aware of the things in which are going on around you. And when you're aware, you have the ability to see the truth. And that truth may be in your mom, it may be in your dad, it may be in your son, in your daughter, but it gives you that ability, that awareness to then take action, to see somebody that's in pain and say, you know what, I'm going to risk being liked, and I'm going to risk causing someone to get angry at me so that I can accept who I am in this moment in time and in this relationship, and accept my responsibility as a teacher, as a counselor, as a pastor, as a coach, as a professional, whoever you are out there, as a student, as a friend, as a family member. It is your job to be so aware of who you are and have the ability to communicate in such a way that allows other people to share themselves. And you know, it just doesn't matter what people think about you. At the end of the day, it's about being you. It's about being me. And if they can't see, you can tell them, "C'est la vie," right, Tadashi? You know, and it just is so aggravating to me right now to see the things that are going on in our community, and to know that high school students, middle school students are in pain from being abused at home, or from being abused at school, or being raped, or being pushed into doing things in which they didn't want to do, and nobody around them is speaking up, and that everyone wants to point fingers at everybody else. Let me tell you something. Life's a bitch. It's always going to be that way. And we cannot change the past of life. We cannot change our past. But what we can do is begin to change the way in which we feel about it, and begin to change the way in which we look at it. And when we do that, we can have a new perspective, a new outlook on life. And that in itself gives us an acceptance that gives us the power to break through and say, no, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to accept these thoughts in my head that may be pushing me to think that nobody likes me or nobody loves me, and so the best solution for me would be to not be on this world. Listen, the show, sure, was a little bit graphic, and it talks about a tough subject, but when are we going to start talking about these tough subjects? You certainly don't talk about them at the pulpit, that's for sure. The teachers certainly aren't talking about them from the classroom setting, that's for sure. We pass the buck on to each different person. Mom and dad's not talking about it at home because they're dealing with their own stuff. Their own inability to accept who they are. If you want to change your life, you just start by being yourself and learning to communicate authentically. And when you communicate authentically to people, the people that want to be around, they'll be around. And they'll love you for who you are, and they'll accept you for who you are. You don't have to be something special to fit in their little box. You were created with a purpose. And you're so individual. You're so unique. And you're so needed. So I just challenge you out there, for those of you that are struggling with this issue, for those of you that are running your mouth behind people's back, hating on family members, hating on coworkers or people like that, put yourself in their shoes for a minute and figure out whether or not what is coming out of your mouth is authentic. Because if it's not, I think it's time you need to shut the hell up. I look forward to speaking with you guys soon, but until then, live authentically.